Y'all don't even know what's going on, so why y'all speaking on y'all don't know?
It all started when Boosie went at Kodak Black after a viral clip made Kodak look shaky on stage.
I get mad when I see you looking like you drugging and thugging.
There had already been tension between the two rappers for years, and Boosie clearly saw the perfect moment to clown him publicly. But Kodak was not about to let that slide.
Hey, bitch, you need to get in the gym, Kodak. But you ducking all on stage, bitch. You ducking. You finna fall out on stage.
What followed was a messy back and forth that quickly pulled the entire hip-hop community into the conversation. Let's break down what really happened, the clapback that echoed across the entire internet. Everything began with a video that surfaced online on February 23, 2026. Kodak Black was performing on stage in Texas, but something about the moment didn't look right.
I say I stand on it. You should know that, bro. I kind of went too hard on you, but that's me, man. I was mad at you. I was mad at you.
He appeared unsteady, visibly wobbling while trying to perform. At one point, members of his crew had to hold him up just to keep him from falling over in front of the crowd. And if that wasn't enough, fans were already angry because Kodak had reportedly arrived 9 hours late to the show. Yes, 9 hours.
You snitching. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of
People in the crowd had their phones out the entire time. Videos of the performance started spreading across social media like wildfire. Within hours, the clips were everywhere. Some fans were concerned and worried about Kodak's health. Others were clowning him mercilessly in the comments, and some were straight up saying the rapper needed serious help.
stop playing with me on this internet. I swear to God.
Kodak's team quickly tried to do damage control. They claimed the situation looked worse than it actually was and blamed the footage on a bad camera angle. But by that point, the internet had already made up its mind. The very next day, February 24th, 2026, Boosie Badass jumped into the conversation. He posted on Instagram just 2 simple words.
I ain't gotta clean my face for nobody, Kodak, bro. I'm a gangster. Like, bro, I don't gotta clean my face for nobody.
Dude need help. FRFR. That was it. No paragraph, no long explanation, just those words. But everyone immediately knew exactly who he was talking about. The post exploded in the comments. Media outlets picked it up within minutes. Blogs started writing headlines, and fans instantly began choosing sides. But Boosie didn't stop at that one post. Later that day, he went live on Instagram and doubled down on what he meant. To be fair, those words could hit anyone deeply, and Boosie himself later admitted he might have come off a little too harsh. Still, he made it clear that he wasn't taking anything back.
I get mad when I see you looking like you drugging and thugging.
According to Boosie, his criticism wasn't about clout chasing or starting drama. He said seeing Kodak like that genuinely bothered him because he had always looked at Kodak as one of the leaders of the younger generation in rap. In many ways, Boosie claimed he saw a younger version of himself in Kodak. And when you see someone you relate to acting reckless in public like that, it hits differently. Kodak, meanwhile, was paying attention to everything being said online. He heard the comments, the jokes, and the criticism, and on March 7, 2026, he decided he was done watching from the sidelines. Kodak suddenly crashed Boosie's Instagram live. He pulled up uninvited right in the middle of Boosie's stream and immediately got straight to the point. Kodak wanted an apology, not a private apology, a public one. He demanded that Boosie publicly take back what he had said about him online, and it was obvious from Kodak's tone that he wasn't approaching the situation with friendly energy. Kodak's argument was simple. You don't know what's really going on in my life. You don't have the full picture, so why are you on the internet speaking on my situation? To Kodak, Boosie had crossed a line by publicly commenting on his personal struggles. During the exchange, Kodak even threw out the word snitch. In hip-hop and street culture, that accusation carries heavy weight. Kodak wasn't just calling Boosie nosy, he was accusing him of violating street code by airing someone else's personal demons to the public.
Like look at it in a sense, I like the whole snitching shit or whatever type time. Like, man, bro, don't do that. That's what you want to do it.
In the streets, that's the kind of move that can destroy relationships completely. and Kodak was making that accusation live in front of thousands of viewers. But Boosie wasn't shaken. This is a man who survived Angola prison, fought serious legal battles, and faced far bigger pressures than a surprise Instagram confrontation. Kodak crashing his live stream wasn't about to make him fold. Boosie fired back the same night and shut down the apology request immediately. He made it crystal clear. He said what he said, he meant what he meant, and no amount of live stream ambushes was going to change that. That moment, Kodak pulling up uninvited and Boosie refusing to back down, was when the entire culture locked in. This was no longer just internet gossip. It had turned into a live face-off between two rappers with years of tension behind them. But to really understand why this confrontation hit so hard, you have to rewind the timeline. Because none of this actually started with a shaky stage performance in Texas. The real beginning goes all the way back to July 2023 with a collaboration that completely changed the relationship between these two artists.
I mean, can all the do a song with who like I don't even know the nigga he told on, and I ain't even.
After the Instagram Live incident, Boosie doubled down once again in another video. According to him, Kodak was the one keeping the drama alive. Boosie said he wasn't trying to mentor anyone or play counselor. He had already said his piece and moved on. In his eyes, Kodak was the one who kept dragging the situation back into the spotlight. And to understand where all of that tension truly began, you have to go back to July 2023. That's when Kodak Black dropped the song Shakalaka featuring Tekashi 6ix9ine. That single decision shattered whatever bond the two rappers once had. Tekashi 6ix9ine is easily one of the most controversial figures in modern hip-hop. In 2019, during a federal racketeering case, he cooperated with authorities and testified against members of his own gang. In street culture, especially in the southern rap world where Boosie built his reputation, cooperating with the government is considered the ultimate betrayal. Boosie had lived by that code his entire life. He had even served time in Angola rather than flip on anyone. So when Kodak, someone Boosie once supported and respected, chose to collaborate with the most famous snitch in rap history, Boosie took it personally.
Hell no, they don't even edit the beat. Say y'all people like who be on that. Y'all be on.
On July 20th, 2023, Boosie went live on Instagram and spoke openly about how betrayed he felt. He said Kodak had messed him up. He called him a rat lover, and he argued that no rapper could work with someone like 6ix9ine and still keep credibility in the streets. Boosie even went so far as to say he wished he could remove his own verse from the song Rocket Man, a track he had previously done with Kodak. That statement was significant. Boosie wasn't just roasting Kodak online. He was saying he regretted ever being associated with him.
Everybody got a vice, some kind of way. Everybody got some kind of vice, even if it ain't drug.
Kodak, of course, fired back. He reposted fans defending him and called Boosie's reaction childish and outdated. In interviews, he explained his reasoning the only way Kodak could. Yes, people warned him not to do the song, but he did it anyway.
It was hard for me, man. I lost like 25 pounds in like 15, 16 days.
Wow.
Just stretching.
Why? Because the collaboration reportedly came with a $1 million payday. And in Kodak's mind, the people involved weren't his personal friends, they weren't from his neighborhood, and they weren't his day one homies, so the street code didn't apply the same way. To Kodak, it was a business move. The bag was secured, and he wasn't apologizing for understanding the value of a check.
You know, I was stressed out, man,
But for Boosie, that explanation only made things worse. To him, that $1 million bag proved Kodak was willing to trade respect and loyalty for money. And that's where the deeper debate began, one that hip-hop has wrestled with for years. What matters more, respecting an unwritten street code or getting the bag by any means necessary? Boosie's entire identity has always been built around one belief: loyalty and street code come first. Kodak Black, on the other hand, has often operated by a different philosophy: secure the bag and move however the opportunity allows. Neither of those perspectives is completely right, and neither is completely wrong, and that tension between those two worldviews is exactly why the conflict between them never truly fades away.
When I see you looking like you drugging and out your mouth, I get mad. I'm gonna tell you that.
But Boosie wasn't speaking from a position of comfort during this time either. While the public was watching the back and forth unfold online, he was also dealing with his own serious legal battle. For nearly 3 years, Boosie had been fighting a federal gun case. The case stemmed from a 2023 traffic stop in San Diego, where authorities discovered 2 loaded handguns in the vehicle he was traveling in. At first, it looked like the situation might completely collapse after a court ruling temporarily dismissed the charges. But prosecutors weren't ready to let it go. They appealed the ruling, and the case suddenly came roaring back.
That you like I am to my generation. Like I am to my generation. That I looked at you like you is to that generation.
What followed was a legal roller coaster that stretched out for years. Eventually, on January 9, 2026, Boosie accepted a plea agreement. The timing was almost unbelievable. It happened 1 day after Kodak dropped the diss track Christmas Eve. The court ultimately sentenced Boosie to time served, along with 3 years of supervised release, a $50,000 fine, and 300 hours of community service. In the end, he walked out of that courtroom with his freedom intact. And just hours earlier, Kodak had chosen that exact moment to throw gasoline on the fire by releasing a diss record aimed directly at him. For Boosie, the timing felt deliberate. The audacity of the move only pushed him to respond even harder. Both rappers began accusing each other of chasing clout, yet at the same time, both continued feeding the conflict by responding publicly. But this situation was never just about rap music. To truly understand what happened during that explosive Instagram Live confrontation in March 2026, you have to look deeper at the weight both men have been carrying for years. Long before the diss tracks, long before the viral videos, both Kodak and Boosie had already been through intense personal and legal battles. Their histories aren't just background information, they're the foundation that explains why this confrontation carried so much emotion. Kodak Black's history. Kodak Black, born Bill Cahan Capri on June 11, 1997, in Pompano Beach, Florida, had been entangled with the legal system almost from the moment he entered his teenage years. His first arrests reportedly happened when he was just 12 years old, involving auto theft and breaking and entering. He grew up in Golden Acres, a public housing project in Pompano Beach, where Haitian immigrants, African Americans, and Puerto Rican families lived side by side in a neighborhood marked by poverty and constant street activity. Kodak's mother, a Haitian immigrant, raised him on her own after his father left early in his life. She worked multiple jobs just to keep the lights on, but the streets filled in the rest of the lessons. As Kodak got older, the legal troubles grew more serious. In July 2022, police pulled him over in Broward County and reportedly found 31 oxycodone pills, along with more than $74,000 in cash inside the car. That led to a drug trafficking charge, a felony carrying a potential sentence of up to 30 years in prison. He was eventually released on bond, but in February 2023, things took another turn when he violated his bail conditions by missing a mandatory drug test. Later testing showed fentanyl in his system, and suddenly the legal pressures started building again. Around that same period, Kodak went on Instagram Live and addressed the rumors about his lifestyle himself. While defending himself against accusations online, he also let something honest slip through. His argument was simple. People were singling him out for behavior that was common throughout the industry. It wasn't a full admission of guilt, but it wasn't exactly a denial either. It was classic Kodak, speaking bluntly while leaving enough room for interpretation. Then, in December 2023, another incident pushed the narrative even further. Police discovered Kodak slumped behind the wheel of a Bentley, blocking traffic with white powder visible around his mouth. The substance initially field-tested positive for cocaine. Kodak insisted it was actually oxycodone from a prescription, and eventually a judge dismissed the possession charge after verifying the prescription. But the image had already spread across the internet. And once something like that becomes part of the public story, it rarely disappears. His history with firearms also runs deep. In May 2019, Kodak was sentenced to 46 months in federal prison for falsifying information on federal firearms purchase forms. He served roughly half that time before President Donald Trump commuted his sentence in January 2021. But that clemency came with conditions, and those conditions eventually pulled him back into legal trouble once again. The cycle seemed impossible to escape. Boosie's history. Boosie's story carries many of the same themes, just stretched across a longer timeline. Born Torrance Hatch Jr. in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on November 14, 1982, he grew up in South Baton Rouge, an area where violence and poverty were everyday realities. His father died from a drug overdose, and many members of his extended family were already entangled with the criminal justice system. As a teenager, Boosie witnessed violent situations firsthand and had to navigate a world where survival often required hard choices. In 2009, police arrested him in Baton Rouge for marijuana possession and weapons charges while he was already on probation. He received a 4-year sentence, but after violating house arrest conditions for marijuana use, the judge extended it to 8 years. Boosie was sent to Angola, one of the most notorious maximum security prisons in the United States. He remained there until March 2014. During his incarceration, additional drug charges were added to his record after authorities accused him of attempting to smuggle substances into the prison. He pleaded guilty, receiving an additional 8-year sentence that ran concurrently, meaning it didn't extend his release date, but still remained on his record. But that clemency came with conditions, and those conditions eventually pulled him back into legal trouble once again. The cycle seemed impossible to escape. Boosie's history. Boosie's story carries many of the same themes, just stretched across a longer timeline. Born Torrance Hatch Jr. in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on November 14, 1982, he grew up in South Baton Rouge, an area where violence and poverty were everyday realities. His father died from a drug overdose, and many members of his extended family were already entangled with the criminal justice system. As a teenager, Boosie witnessed violent situations firsthand and had to navigate a world where survival often required hard choices. In 2009, police arrested him in Baton Rouge for marijuana possession and weapons charges while he was already on probation. He received a 4-year sentence, but after violating house arrest conditions for marijuana use, the judge extended it to 8 years. Boosie was sent to Angola, one of the most notorious maximum security prisons in the United States. He remained there until March 2014. During his incarceration, additional drug charges were added to his record after authorities accused him of attempting to smuggle substances into the prison. He pleaded guilty, receiving an additional 8-year sentence that ran concurrently, meaning it didn't extend his release date, but still remained on his record. Even after his release, the legal struggles didn't completely disappear. At one point, he violated parole by testing positive for marijuana, but he negotiated a deal that allowed him to remain free in exchange for fines and probation. But legal battles weren't the only challenges he faced. Boosie had been living with type 1 diabetes since he was about 10 years old, requiring constant insulin management throughout his entire life, including his time behind bars. Then in 2015, he faced an even frightening diagnosis. Doctors discovered stage 1 kidney cancer during a routine medical checkup while he was on parole. Surgery followed quickly, and surgeons removed 27% of his right kidney. After surviving the procedure, Boosie publicly spoke about faith, family, and gratitude for a second chance at life. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to dive deeper into more untold moments from hip-hop culture, make sure to click one of the videos on your screen right now and keep the adventure going.